Who should be the first All Elite Wrestling champion? We fantasy book next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications as we're trying to hit 5,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling Double or Nothing. And with Double or Nothing less than a month away, people are wondering where the heck are the title belts, especially the World Heavyweight Championship belt for All Elite Wrestling. And they teased, it seemed like at the Double or Nothing rally, that Hangman Page versus Pac would be for the All Elite Wrestling Championship, but it seems like that's not the case. They teased a design for the titles on one of the episodes of Road to Double or Nothing, but have not seen them. Right. So how would you, or who would you say should be the first All Elite Wrestling champion?
Right. Well, to me, this is a no-brainer, and it's actually really easy to think about who I think should be the first All Elite Wrestling heavyweight champion. So you got to look to your money feud, and you got to look to the one that's going to bring the most eyes to the show, I guess you could say. To me, you look no further than Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Mm-hmm. I think that should be your first big feud. There's already a history behind it, so that you know that people are already going to be invested in that. Not to say that Hangman Page and Pac don't have that, because certainly we've had them have their confrontations before. But Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega have already had a match. There's already that history there.
So would you say that match at Double or Nothing should just straight out be for the title?
I think it should be. I don't know if they're actually going to announce that, because we talked about Chris Van Fleet in our other episode, and he had asked Tony Khan, and he said that, yes, we do have an idea of what type of belts we're going to have and how many. And he didn't specifically say, other than the AAA tag team title belts, which ones would be in contention at Double or Nothing. But if I were to book this, I would definitely have Jericho and Omega. That match should be for the title, especially on such a iconic pinnacle, pay-per-view for AEW.
And it seems like the first thing. It seems like that's going to go on last. That's going to be the main event.
I think that should be the main event.
Unless because the only one that actually is for the title, which is the AAA Tag Team Championships, they do have the Bucks versus Pentagon and Rey Fenix, which we know if for some reason they're short on time, they can do a quick enough match and it still be entertaining. Yeah, so they might save that one for last.
And they did do, with All In, we know that there was the tag teams that were profiled last on that show.
Yes.
So, we can't truly say that Jericho and Omega is going to main event. In my estimation and in my opinion, that is the highest profiled match, because if you think about it, and Tony Khan even touched on this, Kenny Omega hasn't competed in a long time, since his time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The same could be said for Chris Jericho. So not only is this their rematch, but it's also their return to the ring. And Tony Khan said some of these guys haven't wrestled, and that's been done by design, because essentially they're trying to build anticipation. So you're getting the rematch, you're getting these guys returning to the ring, you're getting your first show. And I think in order to really create a brand and create a buzz, I think you run with the ball, you run with the guy that has the most experience, and you put the belt on Chris Jericho. He's got the stance now that he essentially works for AEW, but some of the promos he's cut have been very heelish, in the sense that he said, all of these guys should thank me, because the only reason this company is going to be successful is because of me. So he's working there in spite of all of these guys, because he's such a big draw. That's why the company will be successful. So you can have the anti-villain or some guy come in, the protagonist, a fan favorite, give him a run for like 6 months or however long. It doesn't have to be Kenny Omega who beats him and takes the belt off him. But you can have somebody else come in and put Jericho in his place at the end of the day.
Now, I will say that I would not have a championship match on Double or Nothing.
Okay.
I would announce and show the belt at Double or Nothing. And Tony Khan said this in his interview with Chris Van Vliet, that wins and losses are going to matter. So why not have these shows, these one-off shows, Double or Nothing, Fight for the Fallen, Fighter Fest, All In 2, and whatever show is going to be in the UK that's rumored to happen. Have those 5 shows and be like, okay, the top 5 or the top 4 guys with the best record going into our first TV taping are going to be in a tournament. So the first 4 shows are going to be singles matches that people just try to get the best record. Yep. Then you have the semifinals at All In 2. And then the finals is the main event of that first TV taping. That's where the championship has to get crowned, at that TV taping. So I would have Chris Jericho beat Kenny Omega.
Okay.
I would have Cody beat Dustin.
Yep.
I would have Hangman beat Neville. And I would have MJF win the over the budget battle royal. I would have all of them not face each other until All In 2, and they go undefeated in whatever matches that they're in. So Cody would beat Darby Allin, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho would beat whoever he's going to be facing at other shows. So they end up all undefeated. They're the only undefeated ones. Now, in their bracket, I would have Chris Jericho versus Cody in one of the semifinals, and Hangman Page versus MJF in the next one. Now, they're trying to push it so that Hangman Page is the first All Elite Wrestling champion. At least that's what they were pushing in the Double or Nothing rally.
Yeah.
MJF, who is supposed to have this he's using Cody Rhodes for exposure and he's better than everybody kind of thing. And he's trying to be his friend in front of Cody, but then behind his back, he's just a jackass.
Yep.
You have Cody Rhodes and Jericho. They have their little feud going on right now where, like you said, Jericho is saying it's all about me, where Cody could actually say the same thing. It's all because of him, and he's creating the buzz. So at All In 2, you have that push. So they both have their little storylines. MJF beats Hangman Page, and Cody beats Jericho. Mm-hmm. So your final is Cody Rhodes versus MJF. They already have that storyline in place, but then you have another underlying story where we wanted Hangman Page to be the first AEW champion. Cody said that. Cody was the one that said, I want Hangman Page as the first AEW champion. Mm-hmm. Now, because of MJF, who's using Cody Rhodes, he doesn't make that happen. So now there's more of a feud there.
Yeah.
And where Cody Rhodes beats MJF, your first AEW champion is Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
And on top of that, you could have a jealous Hangman Page face Cody Rhodes as your first big storyline.
There you go. It's all booked.
It's all booked. You guys can hire me whenever you want.
No, I don't disagree with that. My stance for what I think should happen is more so from the view that they are trying to brand themselves and make themselves more prominent and attract people and advertising and all of that. In order for all of that to happen, you have to run with somebody who is well known and established within the industry. And, Chris Jericho, he's been around for years. He's a high-profile guy. He's been everywhere. He's done everything. He's competed on WrestleManias. So that's why I would highlight Jericho as the first champion.
Here's the issue, though, that may come up, is that we don't know what exactly the contract details are for Chris Jericho. Mm-hmm. We just know that it's the most lucrative of his career.
Yep.
Does his contract allow him to do stuff with Fozzy and other ventures, his podcast and stuff like that, where he's not going to be there full time?
Yep.
And if he becomes the first AEW champion, do we get the Brock Lesnar effect with Chris Jericho?
That's a concern, sure. It's something that we'd have to consider, but I'm just looking at it from my perspective, not knowing that stuff. Now, only Tony Khan and Jericho and the guys within the company are going to know what his contract actually allows him to do and how many dates he's signed on for and all of that stuff. But so I'm just speaking from a place of if you want to brand yourself and you want to highlight somebody who's already well established within the wrestling community, beyond just like the guys that watch independent wrestling and could potentially get some eyes from WWE to watching your show, I would go with Jericho. But I wouldn't be opposed to Cody Rhodes or Hangman or any of those guys either.
Now, it's funny because we know they pushed Hangman at the Double or Nothing rally, like I've already mentioned.
Yep.
You say Jericho, I say Cody, but I think a lot of people, and comment below if you agree with me on this, Kenny Omega should be the first AEW champion. To me, I think the Western casual fan needs to know Kenny Omega a little bit more.
And they will. I think that it's going to take some time, though. Again, branding yourself, making yourself more visible to other viewers outside of just your hardcore following that knows what AEW is. So I think he'll get there.
He'll definitely.
Wouldn't be if it was me. It wouldn't be my decision. I wouldn't make him the champion just yet.
Right. So I guess at the end of this, if it's Jericho who wins the first AEW championship, who would his first feud be against? Because he's a heel, so now you got to put him. I mean, I know AEW is trying to say we're not going to do heel versus faces, but who would you have him have his first like real storyline against?
Well, I mean, if you look at what they've said they're trying to do is kind of limit the shows. So they're gonna have a certain amount of shows, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's gonna be the same guys on every show.
Yes.
And change things up. So I still think that that's a feud that they can build money on and make money off of. And somewhere down the road, I think the Kenny Omega storyline can surpass just Double or Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's a immediate rematch at the next pay-per-view or wherever, I think Kenny still should be the guy to take the belt off of Chris Jericho. But I think Chris Jericho should be the one to hold the belt first, only because of his high profile.
Yeah. I would say if Jericho is to hold it first, I would say Cody's got to be the one to take it off him.
That's who I was considering him too, or even a younger guy. I off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of a young guy who's supposed to be like a likable face type character that.
I'm trying to think. There really isn't one right now that I think is main event ready. But then again, this is All Elite Wrestling, so it's hard because I'm trying to think like WWE right now, how they book their guys, and we all know this is going to be completely different. So it's not going to be the big muscle guy. I mean, their roster is very much smaller, more athletic, whereas WWE is all about bodybuilders and charisma and stuff like that, where, you know, All Elite Wrestling might not exactly have that yet.
Yeah, completely different focus for AEW.
Yeah, so it's definitely something down the line to look into and see some of these guys. I'm excited to see guys like MJF in the ring and Brian Pillman Jr. You also have, I'm excited to see these guys from OWE. Shima, who's supposed to be this like lifelong Japanese wrestler that helped bring OWE to life, and Lifer there. So I'm excited to see him and what he could bring. It seems like the guy is a really good wrestler. The women's division, there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but again, they're still missing that one big name, I think, on that roster.
I don't think they necessarily need the big name. I think they're going to be successful enough where they'll create bigger names.
Yes.
Like your Kenny Omegas, your Marty Scurlls, assuming he goes there, we'll see. Your Young Bucks. I think those guys are going to be taken to new heights in this company because I do think it's going to be successful, and I think the success is going to come a lot quicker than a lot of people think. So
yeah. All right. Well, we have less than a month before Double or Nothing, and we have less than 6 months before the first TV showing on whatever network it's going to be. So let us know in the comments who you think should be the first All Elite Wrestling champion. Don't forget to like this video, share it all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. Subscribe and hit that bell for notifications as we're trying to hit 5,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling, Double or Nothing. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti, and thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.